Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we are covering a 2024 NFL mock draft. This is the place to subscribe if you do enjoy mock drafts. So I will go ahead and let you do that right now. Without further ado, though, we do jump into Arizona's pick. Arizona is faced with a lot of decisions because this will likely be a season full of a lot of turbulence. You have a first year head coach. You have a lot of different things that are currently working against you as a franchise. However, there is some hope in this draft because likely they will have two top 5 picks heading into next season. So they have to really make the most of it. In this mock, they are picking number 1 and 2. And to me, the clear and obvious choice here is Caleb Williams at number 1. He's the franchise quarterback. A lot of people are going to be saying this throughout the entire process, unless really something drastic happens with where they're actually at, and Caleb Williams ends up, struggling or gets hurt during the year. I think it's going to be pretty clear that he is the number 1 overall pick. Drake Maye would have to do, a lot at this point to overcome that. But I think Caleb Williams should have another, phenomenal season, and he will likely be the first overall pick. But following that up, Arizona has another selection here, and why not pair him with a generational talent in Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the best college football players that we've seen in the last decade. And I do not say that lightly, not even just positionally. This is in totality of all college football over the last 10 years, 20 years, you name it. This is one of the top players. Phenomenal catch radius, good route running. He just provides the entire package of what you're looking for in a receiver. He plays more physical than his actual size. He's everything that you need for a franchise quarterback to really, to begin to develop. I think Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. are going to be a dangerous pairing. Now at number 3, we have a team that is going through a lot of changes, more specifically at that quarterback position. There's a lot of question marks about, is Baker Mayfield going to be the guy? Is it going to be Kyle Trask, who they had drafted a couple of years ago? This to me screams a season that is going to be filled with a lot of ups and downs, more downs than ups, I should say. Looking at it here, I think Drake Maye is going to provide a very interesting case to go in that top 3. And I think it's going to happen here if Tampa Bay ends up with the selection. I think they're going to try Trask. I think they're going to try Baker. But at the end of the day, they're going to realize that their franchise quarterback is likely not on roster at this current moment. So they will have to look forward to it in the draft. And at number 4, we have the Indianapolis Colts, who, I don't know if it's fair to say that they'd be picking 4 next year. Anthony Richardson has a long ways to go in his progression. However, he is going to be one of the most exciting players in football, regardless of how he's throwing the ball. But him as a runner is going to be definitely dynamic. And I think that there's going to be a lot to build off of there in that offense. And a place that I see that definitely needs to be addressed and can be propelled to a Pro Bowl level like guy is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers has been a stud ever since he was a freshman at Georgia. He has came on as one of the most electrifying players in the game. He is just so consistent, so good, great hands, tough, physical runner. All of those things are a culmination of what he is as a player. And to me, Brock Bowers is a name that we have to continue to keep our eye on throughout the course of the process, regardless of the position. To me, he is very deserving of being a top 10 pick, and even in this case, a top 5 level selection, which brings us over to Washington. And to me, Washington is in a position where they have to look at this offensive line. They have to look at their corner room, their defense as a whole. I think they're going to land on the idea that they want to take just an absolute beast, not only potentially best player available at this spot, but just a guy that's going to help out their offense tremendously. Olu Fashanu from Penn State continues to gain buzz as the best tackle in the class, and I think that is absolutely fair to say. So Fashanu here goes to the Commanders, which following that up, we have the Packers. And with the Packers, there's a lot of different ways that they can go. They like where they're at in totality, but I think that they consider offensive line here. But I'm going to do a little bit of a change up here. I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka because I think with the combination of Christian Watson and Egbuka, this would be a dangerous pairing for Jordan Love. You think about the vertical separation that a guy like Christian Watson can bring to an offense. And then you have a guy like Ibuka who can do a lot of things underneath for you and can create a lot of separation in the short to intermediate routes. To me, Ibuka is a perfect fit in Green Bay and going to help aid the development of Jordan Love. So to me, that's where 6 lies. At number 7, we have the Raiders, and I think the Raiders are going to have a lot of different things that they have to address. Offensive line is one I'm going to closely keep my eye on. You're going to see a little bit of a struggling unit there as a whole. However, I could see them looking in that secondary that I do believe that they need to address. Kool-Aid McKinstry is arguably one of the best players left on the board here, if not the best. McKinstry goes number 7 to the Raiders, which features a division of a ton of star wide receivers and a ton of star quarterbacks. So, with that being said, you have to be able to cover, and they need a true man-to-man guy like McKinstry can be. Number 8, we have Tennessee, and I think Tennessee here is kind of looking and assessing across the board where can they go. They're going to, really, how do I want to say they're going to focus at a lot of different positions here. But I think they're just going to be going with the guy that best fits their scheme defensively. Jared Verse is going to be a absolute beast for this defense. They're going to be looking for another rotational pass rusher. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be a stud. Really, really strong lower body, tremendous against the run, and he is going to be a defensive leader and captain on this team. So Tennessee is getting a player that's very much Mike Vrabel-esque, and he really gets his way here at number 8. Number 9, we have the LA Rams, and I think the LA Rams have a lot of areas of concern, absolutely at this point, but nevertheless, they could get a guy that will be there for a long, long time. I see him being a long-time Ram. Joe Alt is as consistent as they come in pass protection. He's a really good run blocker. Joe Alt is the total package as a tackle, and I think when you consider where the Rams struggle, it's both in pass protection and running the football at times. So to me, Joe Alt is a true plug and play guy, Pro Bowl level potential. And I think he is the perfect fit for this Rams offense. But now we have another team that has seen a lot of changes, and there's a little bit of shifted expectations for the Bears because nobody had any expectations last year, but now they had added a ton in free agency in terms of the money that was allotted. Plus, they were able to add some high impact players in the draft. And now they have back-to-back first-round picks here in the first round. So a lot of different ways that they can go. But I like Dallas Turner. I think when you look at what this Bears defense is trying to become, Dallas Turner fits the mold of a very consistent, solid edge rusher that can get after the quarterback, defend the run at a very, very good level. And I think Chicago is trying to establish a front seven that is tough to run on. So to me, with some of the moves that they had made, they can improve even further at that edge spot. Dallas Turner is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then at 11, we have the Bears once again. To me, I think they're actually going to flip it and go to the offensive side of the ball here. I have Xavier Worthy actually going. Now, considering the wide receiver weapons that they already have in place, they allocated, that big trade with Carolina. They end up going and getting a guy as good as DJ Moore, follow that up with, Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. But I think Xavier Worthy adds another element to this offense, a little bit more vertical explosiveness that they could use. And I think that, one of the other guys might be the odd man out, or maybe they just roll with a very deep wide receiver room, knowing that injuries do happen in this league. Number 12, we have the New England Patriots. New England Patriots, I think they're going to consider a multitude of things. However, I think it's finally time that they continue to address that wide receiver position in the first round. Johnny Wilson is a 6'6", 6'7" wide receiver. And in terms of actual vertical explosiveness, this guy can get up. He plays above the rim, a true red zone threat. And exactly what New England is kind of lacking in that red zone area is a wide receiver to really, really go up and get it. And there's not a lot of players with this kind of frame that you're going to see in the draft. There's going to be some question marks in the other areas, such as like short area quickness. However, that doesn't really matter when you got that's 6'6" that can absolutely go and grab the football. Number 13, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and to me, the Atlanta Falcons have have addressed a lot of the issues that they've had. Terry Fontenot has done a great job with this team. However, I think the edge spot is a place that we have to continue to look for them. JT Tuamaloa is my selection here. Terrific run defender, really, really good run defender, has a phenomenal understanding of angles and just is at the right place at the right time at that edge spot. He's athletic enough to get out into space and make tackles as well. So Tuamaloa is my pick here for the Atlanta Falcons. Now we have the New York Giants. To me, the New York Giants have to look across the board and say, hey, where can we pick up a huge impact player at this point in time? To me, Jeremiah Trotter, a player very similar to his dad in terms of physicality and things of that nature. Trotter can be a high impact player, sideline to sideline linebacker. He can be a guy that can absolutely fill up gaps, in the run game. So overall, Trotter embodies the toughness that they've been trying to seek out in New York. Made them a tough defense to play against last year. And I think adding to that second level of that defense is a whole nother level of commitment to, hey, we're going to be a very competitive defense, and we are going to be one of the top defensive units in the league. At number 15, we have the Denver Broncos. And the Denver Broncos, to me, are looking across the board and just looking for an impact guy. Now, there's a lot of question marks with the Bradley Chubb trade and what are they going to do to replace that. There's a lot of terrific players here on the board, but I actually might opt to go a different direction with Denver here in this specific mock draft because I think there's another defensive lineman that can help them out tremendously, Jerzon Newton. Jerzon Newton is a space eater. He's a guy that nobody's going to run on. He's so strong. Once again, a phenomenal lower base, can control guys with his feet. And I think Newton is the ultimate disruptor in the middle of that Denver defense that they've been really seeking out. 16 now, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and based off of actual fit and what actually makes sense for them, I think Schneider is not going to hesitate to pull the trigger here. JC Latham. It's not often you find a guy with this much versatility along that offensive line. I think of AVT for the Jets. Elijah Vera Tucker is a high impact player and fits into the mold well in New York. And I think the same can be true here for JC Latham going to the Seattle Seahawks. 17, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think when you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're not going to be satisfied enough with that offensive line. Going in the draft, selecting Broderick Jones made a lot of sense. I definitely was all in. I had been talking about that all season long, and that's a move they have to make. To me, Kingsley Suamataia is my guy. He's my guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The fit makes sense. Having two really good tackles in this league takes you a long ways, especially once it comes to postseason play. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be knocking on the door of the playoffs once again, and hopefully it's going to be another adjustment period during the offseason because I just don't think this offensive line is enough to be a real competent unit as a whole. Now, I think that they have some nice pieces along it, but I want to see a little more continuity and, actual, flow with this offensive line. So Kingsley Suamataia is my guy here at 17. 18, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, it would be pretty blatantly obvious that they should maybe consider the quarterback position. Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Quinn Ewers, J.J. McCarthy, Spencer Rattler, all names that are going to continuously be brought up. You look on that defensive line, another place that you could look here, just with the Danielle Hunter news really, kind of in the air and the future of him. However, I think that the Minnesota Vikings are actually going to stay at that quarterback position. Michael Penix Jr. has shown a lot of great maturity at Washington. He's going to have a terrific and productive season with the Huskies. The Minnesota Vikings are entering Kirk Cousins' final year of his contract with no plans potentially at the moment to re-sign him. So therefore, Minnesota will be after a QB. Number 19, we have the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans, to me, are in a position where they can look to add to that secondary even further. To me, Kalen King. Kalen King, to this point, is an absolute steal. This is an A grade level play. You have Derek Stingley, Kalen King. It's going to be very tough to pass on the Houston Texans. With DeMeco Ryans as their head coach, this defense should be even more. This defense should be improved heading into next year and then the seasons beyond. He's going to implement a great scheme. We've already seen it with San Francisco, and he gets the job done here and really encourages the front office to draft this stud of a corner in Kalen King. 20, we have the New Orleans Saints. And to me, the New Orleans Saints are in a position here where they're probably going to be looking at that edge spot. I think that's a place of improvement moving forward. And a guy that's a high impact player immediately is going to be Chop Robinson. You look at an edge rusher that can absolutely get after the quarterback, has a variety of pass rushing moves. To me, Chop Robinson is going to continue to ascend on people's draft boards. 21, we have the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are, again, in a position where they're pretty well set. Their roster, you look across the board, this is a good competitive roster. Liatu Latu is my pick here from UCLA. Another guy that I think is going to take a little bit more time to adjust at the NFL level. However, I think when you look at the edge rushing talent that they continue to add, guys like Jalen Phillips being into the mix, Latu as well, this defense is tough because they have really good corner play. I like their linebacking unit, and edge is another spot that they can, look to improve, add a first round level talent to. Miami's going to be tough moving forward. This is a great move for them, in my opinion. 22, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And with the Baltimore Ravens here, I think that considering their current cornerback situation, Cooper DeJean is actually going to be on their radar. I really do. Cooper DeJean has been severely underrated in this process, a sticky man-to-man guy, a player that can be highly impactful the first season that he steps on the field. A lot of rookie corners are susceptible to just struggling against some of these top-tier wide receivers right out the gate. It's one of the hardest positions to play in the game, but Cooper DeJean is one of the most NFL-ready guys right off the bat. 23, we have the LA Chargers, and I look at the LA Chargers as a team that has to address that tackle spot. Having Rashawn Slater is a big deal and a humongous help for Justin Herbert, but protecting the right side is equally as important here. To me, Zion Nelson is the pick, a guy that was thought to come out last year. Now he's going to come out this year and be a first round level pick, probably going to be in that top, 25 or so. That's how impactful he is. He has the versatility to kick into guard, but I think he is a long-term tackle for the Chargers. 24, we have the Dallas Cowboys, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a little antsy here. They are going to want to create some fireworks with this, and Blake Corum ends up going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I know that they like their current running back room, but I think with Tony Pollard being the guy, they might be looking to hit a home run here with a player as talented as Blake Corum. First running back off the board. We've seen the Cowboys do it in the past by taking Ezekiel Elliott. I think Blake Corum's going to blow people away once again this year, like he has his whole collegiate career, and he goes here at 24. 25, we get the Pack again. And to me, I think that the Green Bay Packers are going to be looking at that tackle spot, a guy that's going to continue to create more of a brand for himself and a little more notoriety. Connor Colby is that player. Iowa's done a great job historically with offensive linemen. Green Bay has a history of drafting guys in the Big Ten. And to me, that is just the perfect fit there. Even if they feel like they have to reach just a little bit on him to ensure that they get the guy that they want. To me, Connor Colby is the perfect Green Bay Packer. 26, we have the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions, to me, are looking at a couple of different directions, but more specifically, I could see them looking on the interior of that defensive line. And a guy that really stands out, Mason Smith, is one of them. Leonard Taylor is another. I'm going to opt for Leonard Taylor here. Leonard Taylor is going to embody the toughness that is required to play for the Detroit Lions. They've created a tremendous culture. Leonard Taylor is going to be a tone setter up front for this team. He is going to be able to really help them stop the run, which has been a big struggle for them the last, couple of seasons. More specifically, last year, it was very tough to watch as Lion fans watch other teams gash them on the ground, which was frustrating, but I think they're getting to the point where they will be better this year and even, in seasons to come, something to watch. Now, 27, we have Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's offensive line has really saw some steady improvement over the course of, last season. They were so incredibly good as a unit. But, with the loss of Jawan Taylor and there's some question marks on the interior, to me, I can really see this being the case where Cooper Beebe ends up going. Cooper Beebe, the most NFL ready guard, technically sound, and there's just not a lot of bad tape on him. There really isn't. So Cooper Beebe is going to be protecting Trevor Lawrence long term, and that's going to be a good pick, despite people saying, hold on, don't take guards. I think this is a good situation where they need to. 28, we have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills, man, they're going to seek some vertical explosiveness, and you're going to get that from Troy Franklin. Track like speed, can take the top off the defense. And imagine if Buffalo ends up with a guy like this. That is going to be very tough to watch because Josh Allen's got a massive arm. You have Troy Franklin who can blow past people. And to me, that is the perfect marriage. 29, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, to me, with two corners that are 30 plus, I think they're going to be thinking a little bit more long term with this pick. I think Denzel Burke is the selection here. Denzel Burke is exactly where you want to go. You want to get a little bit younger in that secondary. You want them to get some valuable experience from these top high level corners that are in their 30s now. And at one point in time, we're going to see a little bit of vulnerability, just considering just the numbers always suggest cornerbacks falling off around this age, and this very well potentially could be the year. Number 30, we have the San Francisco 49ers. I think when they're kind of evaluating their board and where they want to go with things, I think they're not going to look any further than safety. Kalen Bullock is going to be my pick. San Francisco continues to hit on defensive players on all three levels, whether that's up front, the linebacking groups, or the corners and safeties. They always seem to find guys, and keeping Kalen Bullock here in California makes a lot of sense to me. They're going to have a lot of eyes on him throughout the course of the year, and I would not be shocked if his name is called by the Niners. 31, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals, again, we have to consider a team that is trying to rebuild a secondary a little bit, make some changes. Cameron Kinchins from Miami is as talented as they come at the position. Very well actually could be the top overall safety. There's a lot of film to break down on him yet, but I think if you're looking at an alpha of a defense that can really lead a secondary unit, to me, that is going to be Kinchins. And then finally, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs, to me, are a team that we have to watch on that interior. To me, they're honestly, they're going to go best player available. I think they will opt to go with a guy like Mason Smith, who's super, super, super talented along that side of things. A little more polished as a pass rusher than some of these other guys, but Mason Smith is that pick finally. So kind of taking a look at the actual results in total, I had a lot of fun with this one. There's a lot of different things that, you can make changes on, but I like what I'm seeing here, to be completely truthful, for what we were able to do. Considering some of the middle picks were a little more interesting because we had some variation from prior mocks. And this is kind of the grouping that I was talking about right here with Xavier Worthy and Johnny Wilson, who have been historically dropping a little bit lower in my mocks. But I think when it comes to actual NFL draft time, receivers get pushed up the board, they work out well, they test well, and that's exactly where you're going to see some push up into the middle to the top of the first round for some of these wideouts. So thanks again for stopping by. Appreciate you checking out the video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more NFL draft content, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.